If you've ever been told that you just need to ask more people about life insurance, and that advice left you feeling more discouraged instead of confident, this episode is for you. Because asking is not a strategy, okay? Most P&C agencies, just asking more is actually the fastest way to kill confidence in our teams, okay? And it's not only the fastest way to kill confidence in our teams, but it's the fastest way to create objections. And I don't know about you and your team, but typically the less confidence that producers have, the less confidence that customer service reps have, and the more objections that they get, the less life insurance they're going to sell. And so guys, asking more is not a strategy. Okay? And so guys, today I want to explain why that advice fails and why I absolutely hate it. And it's one of the most common piece of advice that people in the P&C world will tell their team to sell more life insurance. If you want to sell more life insurance, you need to ask more. Ask everybody. We're in this promotion. You need to ask more. The more you ask, the more you're going to sell. We're in a numbers game. So you've got to have the numbers for you to actually want to have success in this industry. And I don't love that advice, and I'm going to explain why. And I'm going to explain what to do instead so that what we can do is get our team confidence to actually go out and be able to sell life insurance. Okay, because a lot of y'all are like, well, I want to be more confident selling life insurance. Yes, welcome to the club. Everybody and their dog wants to be more confident in selling life insurance. But confidence does not come from just asking more. It doesn't. Confidence comes from having a better strategy. Because when we have a better strategy, the asking more actually carries more weight. So I want you guys to think a little bit differently today because, at the end of the day, one core belief that I have is that the production that you want, the commission check that you want, the agency that you want is not necessarily on the other side of working harder or grinding more. It's on the other side of working differently. Okay, and so my hope today is that maybe I can bring some light to your strategy in your agency that can help you have something in place that will help your team get selling life insurance without feeling salesy, without, having this weird pressure that comes when we try to make life insurance part of the P&C world. Okay? And so, guys, at the end of the day, here's why asking more fails. Asking more fails because we lack context. When most producers are asking more, they're not providing context behind their ask. When more producers ask more, there's not really much positioning happening. Okay? Because at the end of the day, people aren't going to buy a life insurance policy from you and your team just because it's life insurance. Hate to break it to you, they aren't. And it's just the same as people aren't going to buy a plane ticket from Delta because it's just a plane ticket. They're going to buy the plane ticket so it can get them to Hawaii, their destination, so they can go on their vacation with their family. And you're not going to go to Lowe's just to buy a drill because it's cool to have a drill. You're going to buy a drill because you're going to need that drill to do something for you. You're going to need that drill to drill holes in your wall. So you're buying the drill for the end result of what the drill is going to do, which is to give you a hole in the wall. And you're not going to buy braces for your kid just because it's like, oh yeah, everybody gets braces. That's just what we do. We're buying the braces. You're buying the braces for your kid so your kid can have a confident smile. People buy the end result of what the product and service will do for them, not the product itself. And so just asking more people about life insurance, leading with life insurance, does not guarantee that you will sell more policies because people aren't going to buy it because it's just life insurance. They buy what it does for them. And so when our team just goes out and just asks more and thinks that that's how they're going to sell more life insurance, we miss the boat completely with context and positioning. Okay, we're jumping to a decision before there's context behind it. We're saying life insurance and hoping that works, but we've missed providing context and helping people see why life insurance would make sense for them. Okay? And so you probably noticed that if you've been in this industry, long enough and you've actually tried to sell life insurance in this industry, you're hit with a lot of objections. One of our training episodes not too long ago, I did a deep dive into objections. If you missed it, go check it out. It's awesome. I gave exact rebuttals to the 7 most common objections we'll hear in selling life insurance off of auto and home. And one of the big principles that I talked about in the beginning of that episode is that there's really 2 types of objections. We've got objections that happen before the price and objections that happen after the price. We labeled objections happening before as obstacles, and we labeled objections happening after as true objections. What happens is that most objections are happening early. Most objections are happening before our producers have given the customer an offer, a price to actually move forward. And what that tells us is that we're missing the boat. We're just trying to sell life insurance because it's life insurance rather than trying to sell what life insurance will actually do and why people will actually buy it. And oftentimes when we're hit with, oh, I've got it through work, or, oh, I don't need it, or, oh, I just want the car insurance for now, and it's happening early, we haven't given the price, and more often than not, we haven't given the context as to why they should care. We haven't built value. A lot of you have heard that phrase before. We need to build more value. Okay. And a lot of people will talk about building value, but we're talking about it at a high level. What I want to know is like, how do I actually build value? And my question to you agency owners listening to this is, does your team actually know how to build value? Do they understand what the elements of building value actually are? Because at the end of the day, guys, life insurance will not carry weight if we just ask more. Life insurance starts to carry weight with customers and prospects when we have backed the ask with context, with positioning, and with value so that it makes sense for the customer to want to move forward. Because what people are thinking about is what's in it for me. And if we and our team, we can't communicate that clearly to our customers, they're not going to buy. Okay, so asking more is not strategy. Asking though with, context and positioning and value is strategy, and that can absolutely change the game for you. Okay. And so, guys, I also want you to think about this, that customers aren't necessarily objecting life insurance. Oftentimes, customers are objecting bad timing. Okay. And I'm going to dive into that in a little bit, but I want you to think about that. They're not necessarily objecting life insurance as a whole. They're objecting the bad timing. Okay. And what happens with objections, and what happens when, first and foremost, what happens when our strategy is just to ask more, right? Meaning we're holding team meetings. We're trying to get our team to remember to ask more. We're trying to throw incentives at them. Whether it's you're going to lose commission on your P&C if you don't start selling more life insurance, or it's, hey, we're in this promotion and we're going to do this fun competition and this incentive with the team, whatever it is. But if our strategy is just to ask more and we're helping our team just try to ask more, it's not going to work. They're going to get a lot of objections, and those objections, what's going to happen is they're going to start to internalize those as personal rejection. And that's where confidence is going to take a hit. And that's where beliefs, even worse, that's where beliefs are going to start to be developed that, I can't sell life insurance. People have enough life insurance through work. People aren't going to buy life insurance from me. They're just going to buy auto and home insurance. And so, think about the danger of your team starting to develop those limiting beliefs. Do you think that just because you tell them to ask more, they're going to be able to do it and move through those beliefs when their experience has been 9 times out of 10, they're given an objection, and that objection starts to hurt a little bit and they start to internalize it, and the customer and prospect has actually done a really good job at selling them on why, life insurance, they don't need it, instead of the team member actually helping sell the customer on why they might need it, right? And so what happens is they will internalize that and they'll start to feel like a failure. And the more that happens, and the more we tell them to ask more, and the more they go out and try it, and 9 times out of 10, they're continued to get all of these objections, and they're continued to get all of this rejection, their belief system starts to change, and they start to have all of these limiting beliefs that prevent them from asking further. They will get to a point where they're just going to stop asking because they're so discouraged from doing it. And it all stems back to our strategy. Our strategy of asking more does not work. Okay? And so the volume, right? Like I know that there's a lot of arguments out there that we are that sells as a numbers game. And I agree with you. It's obvious, right? Like, if I'm going to the gym and I expect to get jacked by just doing, one set of 3 reps every day, like obviously I'm not going to get jacked, right? Or if I want to put on more weight, I can't just expect more weight to be put on. I got to eat more, right? The volume obviously makes sense. Like, of course we're in the numbers, it is a numbers game. But if we don't have strategy behind the volume, it's not going to go anywhere. And what it's going to really do, it's actually going to hurt our team. It's going to hurt the confidence of our team because we're doing it. We're doing what we're told to do. We're doing what we've been asked to do, but it's not working. And so the volume, we can continue to do more and more and more of this, but if it doesn't continue to work, think about what that's going to do to their confidence. Okay. So asking more is not a strategy. And most producers fail not because they're bad at selling, but most producers fail because they don't have a framework to follow. Okay. And so here's what's actually happening in our conversations. And here's one of the main reasons as to why asking more is not a strategy. And it's because of the industry that we're in. We are in the P&C industry. We can sell life insurance with P&C, but every time you talk to your customers, guess what they're thinking about? Life insurance? No, they're thinking about their auto insurance. They're thinking about their homeowner's insurance. They are not thinking about life insurance. And oftentimes people are in transaction mode. They're in transaction mode. And, sometimes when we ask more, it feels like a context switch. It feels like a completely different shift into the conversation to something that's completely separate, that's not related as to the reason as to why they called into your office, and it creates this resistance. It becomes very easy for them to just give an objection to your producer and for that objection to stop the conversation from going forward. And that objection and the fact that it stopped the conversation from going forward affects your team's confidence in a way that's not going to serve you. Okay? And so because they're in transaction mode, because it feels like this context switch, we create resistance in these conversations. People start to feel like they're being sold to. It feels like a bait and switch, and no one likes to be sold to. And if you've walked through Costco recently and those AT&T phone salespeople, you've walked by them, you've probably noticed that you try to avoid eye contact. You probably notice that you sometimes maybe even take a detour around them. Why? Because you don't want to be sold to. Because you did not go to Costco to talk about your phone bill. You went to Costco to get snacks for the freaking Super Bowl. Okay? And so it feels like a bait and switch. That's why resistance happens. And so we need more strategy. Okay, and so understanding why customers come to us, and even let's broaden it. Prospects that you're quoting, they're not coming to you for quotes for life insurance. They're coming to you for auto and home quotes, and they're still in transaction mode. Okay, and so when we just ask more, what happens with the customers is they're really defending their time, right? Like when I go to Costco, I was just there this last week, and this happened to me. I'm defending my time. I don't have a whole lot of time to sit there and talk about my AT&T phone, my phone bill and possibly switching over to AT&T, even though they might be able to save me money, even though they might be able to get me a brand new iPhone, even though what they have might be of value to me and I might like that. Because of the situation, the fact that I'm going to Costco for a different thing, not to go talk about my phone bill, there's that immediate resistance. And I'm really just trying to protect my time because that's not why I went there. And I'm trying to protect my money. Okay, so the customers, they're doing that. They're trying to protect their time, defend their time, and defend their money in these conversations. Okay, and guys, at the end of the day, it's kind of like, asking someone to plan for a full-blown vacation when they're paying for a parking ticket. It's just the wrong moment, and it is the wrong mental state. Okay, and so, kudos to those people. Like if you've been one of those Costco people that's trying to sell some phones And phone lines with AT&T in Costco, I have mad respect for you because that is a very difficult situation to do it. Even though there's all this traffic, because of the mental state that these shoppers are in, they're not there to talk about their phones. They're there to get whatever they went there to get. Okay. And it's very similar to working in the PNC world. They're not coming to us for life insurance. They're coming to us for auto and home insurance. So think about it this way. Okay. We just tell our team to ask more and they start asking more. They're like, all right, boss, let's do it. Like, I get this. And I know I want to make a name for myself. I know I need to sell more life insurance. I want to make more money and I want to help more people. So we're going to ask everybody that we possibly can. So they go out and ask, but because there's not strategy behind the ask, we're creating a lot of early objections. And those early objections, most of the time, stop the conversation from going forward. And so, they do it long enough. They do it, they just ask and they ask and they ask and they ask and they don't see results. They will lose confidence and it just doesn't, it doesn't go anywhere. And now, before we know it, you, the agency owner, you're back in the seat every single year having to pick up the life insurance production to hit your targets because you don't want to leave all that money on the table. And it's frustrating because you feel like you can't quite get your team to sell. It might not be because the volume's not there. It might be because the strategy is just not working. And asking more is not a strategy. Okay? So what's the real strategy? I'm going to give you 3 things that can help with your strategy. First thing, positioning. This is one of the most common things that most producers are not doing. And it's silly. We are not positioning life insurance in a compelling way. We're just positioning life insurance as another product to buy. And we're wondering why we're getting all this resistance and rejection. And I want to take you back to Sales 101. Positioning matters, and it matters immensely. If you are trying to go to Hawaii, you need to get to Hawaii. You're not just going to buy a plane ticket just to buy a plane ticket. You are going to buy a plane ticket so that you can get to Hawaii. If you are walking through Home Depot and you see a drill, you're not just going to buy this drill because it's cool to have a drill. You're going to buy the drill because you might need to use the drill to drill some holes at some point. You might need to use the drill to fasten something together with a screw. If you go to the orthodontist, you're not going to be intrigued and motivated to buy braces because they're these cool metal things that you put on your teeth that are going to cut up your lip and make your mouth sore. You're going to be compelled to buy braces because of what the end result of what the braces will do for you. They're going to leave you with a straight smile, which is going to leave you confidence. People do not buy life insurance because it's life insurance. People will buy life insurance because of what it will do for them and what it will do for their family. And so our strategy needs to start with positioning. We need to help our team understand that before you even ask, you need to identify how are you going to position life insurance with this specific customer, with this specific prospect that you're quoting. And this is important because life insurance isn't going to carry weight and be compelling for an 18-year-old that doesn't have any kids, that doesn't have any debts. Life insurance isn't going to be compelling in the same way for this 18-year-old as it would for a 40-year-old that has 5 kids, it's got loans on vehicles, mortgage on a home, and a family that relies on him for his income. Or even the 65-year-old that doesn't have any debt, that's going into retirement. Life insurance it's not compelling in the same way for each of these different people. Life insurance will make sense differently for these different types of people. And so that is why positioning matters. You need to identify what your positioning is, what you're going to sell life insurance to do before you even ask. And my question is, are your producers doing that? Do they know to do that? Okay, so positioning matters. If it's positioned to just buy another product, it's not going to go anywhere. It will die. Okay? But if it's positioned to solve a specific problem, it will land and they might just buy. So we need to nail our positioning before we even think about asking. Now, the second thing is timing. Timing beats volume. Timing is so important, okay? Because not every service call that you take from a customer is created equal in terms of selling life insurance. And I think you can understand that, right? If Coulter calls into your office and he's just pissed off about his bill because it went up, is that a great opportunity to bring up some life insurance? Probably not. But some of us still do. Why? Because we're told to ask. And we feel if we don't ask, we feel a little discouraged because we don't feel like we're actually doing what we said we would do. Like, guys, I remember taking a phone call one day, and there's a lot of external pressure to sell life insurance, but a lot of it was also internal pressure. I wanted to make a name for myself. I wanted to sell life insurance. I came from a door-to-door sales world where I get into this insurance game and I'm selling auto and home insurance. And then I see like life insurance is such an untapped gold mine that I would try to bring up life insurance with everyone I could. And so I had this drive to bring up life insurance, and I would, but I remember a specific phone call where I recognized that the customer doesn't have life insurance. I recognized an opportunity, and most of the time I would act on those opportunities early on. But this time I didn't. And I hung up the phone, and I remember sitting in my chair. I remember thinking, what are you doing, dude? Like, you totally missed that opportunity. And you told yourself, but you also told your boss and your team that you were going to ask more. But why didn't you do it, dude? I started to kind of be my own, I started to kind of get in my head in that way and feel a little discouraged because I felt like I dropped the ball. And my confidence starts taking a hit, and I'm kind of spiraling a little bit after this phone call. But then I remember looking at the phone and thinking about really kind of maybe a little bit more objectively and thinking like, man, is this opportunity like actually gone? Did I just miss the boat there? Like, just because I didn't bring it up right there, is that opportunity gone forever? And I remember thinking like, no, like I can actually redial and actually call them again and sell, life insurance, at least give them the option to get life insurance that way. And that was a moment in time for me where I realized, just because I didn't bring up life insurance on that specific transaction does not mean that that opportunity was gone forever. Because I can pick up that darn phone and I can redial and I can get them back on the phone. And that's when I realized, okay, maybe there's more to this than just asking more. Because at the end of the day, I felt in that specific phone call that the timing wasn't necessarily right. That the timing wasn't necessarily right. And so I just didn't do it. But then I remember feeling bad for myself and going down this negative spiral. But then I caught myself and realized like, oh my gosh, if the timing's right, I don't have to pivot right then and there just because I've been told to ask more, just because I said I would ask more. Instead, I could always call them back later. And that's when I started to uncover that it's not just about asking more, but it's about the timing. Timing beats volume, okay? There's a time to talk about life insurance and there's a time to not. And if we don't follow that, and if we don't understand that we're in the people business and that not every transaction's a good time to bring up life insurance, if we ignore that and still push through it, nothing's going to change. We will continue to get those early objections. Our team will continue to get rejected, and the confidence dies and production doesn't happen. And then the agency owner is back in the seat year after year doing all of the life insurance production because they believe that life insurance won't happen if they don't do it. The reason it's not happening is because the strategy is wrong. Asking more is not a strategy. We need positioning. We need to help the team decide what will life insurance do for this specific customer that makes a lot of sense for them in their specific situation, and timing. Timing is crucial. If the timing is not right, why would we still push through that? Let's work smarter this year instead of just working harder, because the production, the business, the paycheck that you want is not on the other side of grinding more. It is on the other side of working differently. Okay? And then the next and last thing, we've got our positioning, we've got timing. The next thing is solve one immediate need. Solve one immediate need with life insurance. The industry teaches us that we need to sell to people's needs. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. I believe that we should. But what we don't think about is that customers are in transaction mode. Customers know us for auto and home insurance. They are not planning to talk about life insurance. Customers are coming to us for a coffee. They're coming to us for a coffee. They're in the drive-thru at Starbucks ordering a darn coffee. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to sell life insurance, here. It's like we're trying to sell, this full 5-course steak dinner to people that are coming to us for a coffee. They're not coming to you for steak. They're coming to you for a coffee. And when we try to offer them, all of this too soon, it's overwhelming. People say, I got to think about it. It sounds good. I need to talk to my spouse. It's hard to make a decision. And they don't. Okay? Because we're trying to offer them steak when they're coming to us for coffee. So instead of trying to solve every single need with this full 5-course steak dinner, and what I mean by that, guys, is life insurance needs, right? The life needs analysis. Have enough coverage to pay off loans and mortgages and debts. Have enough coverage to replace income for the next 20 years. Have enough to pay for funeral expenses. Leave money behind for education. We're trying to do all of that initially when people are only coming to us for a coffee. And so what I know works is stop trying to do all of that initially. There's a time and place for this, and start positioning it to do one thing. And think about it this way. Offer them creamer for their coffee instead of trying to offer them a full 5-course steak dinner. Because when we can get them a coffee with the creamer and they enjoy it, we can then invite them back in and then do the steak dinner. Okay? And so most agencies try to sell the full plan on the first time bringing up life insurance. Okay? But people don't want the full plan. They're not coming to you for the full plan. So start small and we will build on that later. Okay. And, guys, at the end of the day, all of that matters. All of that matters. And, if we can adopt this strategy of positioning, of timing, and solving one immediate need, and we can couple that with asking more, the sky's the limit. But if we don't have the strategy of the positioning, of the timing, of solving one immediate need, and we just continue to say, ask more, we will continue to be discouraged. We will continue year after year to not have the production that we know we can have. And agency owners will continue to be the ones that are glorified producers in their agencies because, it's just the strategy's not there. Okay. So guys, at the end of the day, I believe that the more that we understand about the business that we're in, and the more that we understand about what our customers and prospects are thinking when they come to us, and the more that, we understand them as people, the better the easier it is for us to identify this strategy that will actually work. And the differently that we're able to work that will allow us to sell more life insurance. Okay. And so my hope is that in this episode, it helped you rethink how life insurance is being sold in your agency. Okay. And, some of you might be thinking like, man, we're doing this completely wrong. Like this makes so much sense. And, that can maybe be a little uncomfortable, but that's where the growth happens. That's where the growth happens. And guys, I believe that there is a way to sell life insurance at a really high level without feeling, this pressure, without, burning out our team. And, it really just starts by changing the way that you think about how life insurance is being sold in your agency, not necessarily how often we're asking. Asking is not a strategy, but when we can nail our positioning and help our team understand positioning with different transactions and different customers and demographics, when we can help our team become more aware of timing and nail timing, and when we can help our team start small and then build on that later, the sky's the limit. Life insurance production will become consistent. Our team will start be able to pick that production up. They're going to love it because their commission check's going to change. Their life is going to change financially. And agency owners are going to absolutely love it because their agency is hitting those life insurance targets. It's capturing all of that money that would be left on the table, and it's all happening without the agency owner being in the seat. As always, if this was helpful, please share it, like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what your thoughts were on this episode, and we will see you in the next one.